Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Reflux Revolution Podcast. I'm Molly, a registered dietitian specializing in reflux, GERD, and LPR, and more importantly, I'm someone who's been in your shoes. For years, I struggled with reflux symptoms that just wouldn't go away. Constant throat clearing, heartburn, that annoying lump in your throat feeling, and nights spent propped up on pillows trying to sleep. And let me tell you, when you start looking for answers, you're met with a ton of conflicting advice. Maybe you've heard things like, just drink milk, it'll coat your stomach. If you have reflux, you have to cut out all acidic foods. Or if you don't have heartburn, you don't actually have reflux. I know I've heard them all. And guess what? Most of them are completely wrong. Today, we're busting some of the biggest reflux myths out there, and by the end of this video, you're going to feel way more confident in managing your symptoms without falling for bad advice that actually could make things worse. The information shared in this Reflux Revolution podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any medical condition and does not replace medical advice from your physician or personalized medical nutrition therapy from a registered dietitian. Always consult your healthcare team before making any changes in your health routine. This podcast offers a holistic perspective to support your well-being, but your body is unique and your care should be too. So let's dive in. Myth number 1, if you have acid reflux, this means you have too much stomach acid. This is probably the biggest myth out there, and I'll be honest, I believed it for a long time too. I took PPIs for over a year, and I'm not anti-PPI. I just think it's important that we understand the root causes of reflux and how PPIs work in our body. So, it sounds logical, right? If acid is coming up, there must be too much of it. But in reality, most people with reflux don't have too much acid. They actually may have too little stomach acid or a lower esophageal sphincter malfunction. So your stomach has a valve called the lower esophageal sphincter that's supposed to keep your stomach contents in your stomach. But if that valve relaxes too much, acid can creep up even if there's not a lot of it. And so low stomach acid can actually slow down digestion, meaning food sits in your stomach longer, increases pressure, pushing acid upward. And this is why medications like PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, which lower stomach acid, don't always work for everyone because their root cause may not be excessive acid production. Some people actually feel worse when they take them, especially those with LPR, laryngopharyngeal reflux. So your stomach also has to reach a certain pH level. It has to get acidic enough to trigger that lower esophageal sphincter to close. And you might be thinking, well, I'm on a PPI. What should I do? And if you've been on a PPI, doesn't mean that you're constantly refluxing or that you're not addressing your reflux. PPIs do have a time and place. So if you have gastritis, if you have Barrett's esophagus, if you have ulcers, if you have esophageal inflammation or erosion, you might need to go on a PPI. I think PPIs served their time and place in my healing journey. We just want to make sure they're not the only solution that we're relying on because they don't actually address reflux at its root cause, but they might help with healing and reducing inflammation. So don't quit your PPI cold turkey, but understand that we need to support your body's natural stomach acid production. And I have a whole video on this and on YouTube, but I will make an entire podcast on this as well coming soon so I can share more about how we can support the lower esophageal sphincter. But in a nutshell, we need to make sure that we are getting enough nutrition. That's first and foremost super important so that we can produce adequate stomach acid, that we're slowing down during meals, chewing well, practicing our mealtime hygiene. That's super, super important. And then also supporting your vagus nerve. So really managing stress on a daily basis with tools like the Flora app. This is going to help support stomach acid production and your sphincter function. So in summary, reflux is not usually caused by excess stomach acid. It is just your stomach contents in the wrong place. So the real focus should be on supporting your digestion and your nervous system to keep that lower esophageal sphincter strong. Myth number 2 is that you have to cut out all acidic foods forever. I see this one all the time, and people come to us feeling totally overwhelmed because they've cut out tomatoes, citrus, vinegar, coffee, and they're still struggling. Here's the truth. Acidic foods aren't the root cause of reflux. Now, for some people, certain acidic foods can be really irritating, especially if they have LPR, where that is the pepsin-mediated reflux, where even small amounts of acid can activate the pepsin in our throat and esophageal tissue. But just because a food is acidic does not mean it's going to trigger symptoms for everyone. And it doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to have these foods again. That can be a really scary thought that a lot of our clients struggle with is, am I ever going to be able to have these foods again? And the truth is that you may need to remove or replace these foods in your healing phase. So it might be necessary to pause the triggers, pause acidic foods so that inflammation can go down, so that pepsin can leave the tissues and be deactivated. But our long-term goal is to address the root cause of your reflux. Food is likely not the root cause of your reflux. For most people, it is often lowered stomach acid, a valve issue, the lower esophageal sphincter not working, or lifestyle habits over time that have resulted in a lot of inflammation and a lot of reflux, and now it's resulted in uncontrollable reflux. So those are a few of the common root causes. There are so many, and I will be sure to make a video in the future about root causes of reflux, but acidic foods aren't the root cause. And oftentimes we are able to gradually reintroduce these foods and understand what are your unique triggers, what are your unique threshold amounts of these foods, which is so valuable because we don't want to live a life of full restriction. And a lot of people, we find they're not sensitive to all the reflux triggers. Maybe garlic and onion is totally fine for them, but coffee isn't. Or maybe chocolate is really no problem, but a big bowl of tomato sauce is not okay in a large portion. And so once we find relief, we address the root cause and optimize your gut health and your digestion, our next step in our work together is really slowly introducing these foods back in so we understand what your triggers are, what your threshold amounts are. So, for example, tomatoes can be a trigger for some, but others tolerate them just fine in small amounts. You know, a couple cherry tomatoes in a salad or a bowl is often not the end of the world for those with GERD, but a huge bowl of tomato sauce, that might be something different. Coffee also gets a bad rep, but a lot of our clients do just fine with a small amount of low acid coffee or cold brew with food, with milk to dilute the acidity. And vinegar is sometimes a trigger if eaten on its own, but adding a little bit into a marinade, in moderation might not be a problem. So amount is everything, and the key is really knowing your personal threshold amounts, not just eliminating foods because they're on like a bad list. Myth number 3 is if you don't have heartburn, you don't have reflux. And this is a big one. So many people think reflux is just heartburn, that burning feeling in your chest or your upper abdomen. But reflux can show up in a ton of different ways, including chronic throat clearing, postnasal drip that won't go away, a constant lump in the throat feeling or feeling like something is stuck in the throat, hoarseness or losing your voice easily, a chronic cough, especially at night, and shortness of breath. This type of reflux where acid reaches your throat and airways is called LPR, laryngopharyngeal reflux. It's actually more common than heartburn-based reflux, but often gets diagnosed as allergies, asthma, or even anxiety. If you've been experiencing these symptoms and traditional reflux treatments haven't helped, it's worth looking into LPR and focusing on low acid strategies to heal your throat and esophagus. Myth number 4 is that medications are the only solution. Look, I'm not here to bash medications. PPIs and H2 blockers are absolutely necessary in some cases. and they absolutely have a place in reflux management, especially for short-term healing, reducing inflammation, and preventing cancerous cell changes. But they're not the only option, and they should not be looked at as the main solution. So Dr. Jamie Kaufman, who is a pioneer in the reflux space, she has agreed, as well as Dr. Inna Hussain, who's another LPR specialist and world-renowned reflux doctor. They both agree that nutrition and lifestyle are the mainstays of reflux treatment. So PPIs, they don't address the root cause. They can lower stomach acid and allow tissue to heal, but they don't help you actually prevent the physical reflux. Long-term use can lead to nutrition deficiencies and even increase the risk of foodborne illness. And many people can struggle to come off PPIs if they don't implement nutrition and lifestyle strategies first. And so this is really key. If you've tried to come off PPIs and you've found it really, really challenging, it's likely we need to do some work in 1, nutrition and lifestyle, and 2, really supporting your habits, making sure that your nutrition and lifestyle is in a good place for you to come off of these medications. So eating in a way that supports digestion, really managing stress, because stress absolutely makes reflux worse, supporting the gut microbiome with fiber and good prebiotics, strengthening the lower esophageal sphincter through your diet and lifestyle changes. If you're on a medication and it's working for you, that's great, but there are really important nutrition and lifestyle strategies that we are going to discuss throughout the course of this podcast. So, we covered a lot. I hope that this episode helps clear up a few common reflux myths, give you a few takeaways to start working on, whether it's slowing down during your meals, chewing well, supporting your nervous system with a daily meditation practice. These are really important steps to help you feel more confident in managing your symptoms. And if you've been struggling with reflux and want more personalized guidance, definitely head over to www.flora-nutrition.com, where I've got tons of resources to help you, from our blog to our reflux relief program, our one-on-one sessions. And if you found this helpful, I'd love if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, take care of yourself and your gut, and I'll see you in the next episode.